Welcome to the O Show, your number one podcast for everything training, mindset, and nutrition. I am your host, Oren McCarry, and it is my goal to help you access the best information around to allow you to kick ass in the gym, in the kitchen, and most importantly, in your head. Between my own experiences and those of my amazing guests, I'm confident we will do that. So let's strap in and level up your life starting right now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys. Welcome to today's episode of the O Show. I am your host, as always, Oren McCarry, and today I am on with one of my good friends, a previous podcast guest, and actually my first ever coach way back in 2013 for my first ever little body transformation. We got the amazing Dr. Josh Williamson on the line.
Hey, buddy. How's it going? How are you
Good,
keeping?
man. Good, man. We've just been having a good little catch up there, mate, and it always puts me in a good mood when we have a little chat. And you know, we're in very similar positions. We've got similar personalities. We're similar values, similar sort of goals with life. So this is going to be an interesting little podcast, mate. But let's catch everyone up on what's been happening with you since we last were on the podcast, because there's been a few life changes, right?
Just a few minor things have happened. But yeah, well, the big news is now I'm a new dad. And that's been a whirlwind over the last 10 weeks. So I can't remember, I think the last time we spoke, after the call, I told you that we were expecting.
Yep.
And that was very early days. And from then, obviously, we've now had our baby Arlo, and he's doing absolutely fantastic. So that's been the major life change. Still coaching away, still working away, still trying to enjoy life as much as possible in this past sort of 12 to 18 months. But I mean, yeah, now we have a new addition to the family, and it's been absolutely fantastic, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And that's where we're going to go with this today. And like, we were talking about what topic to talk about, and I was like, mate, I'm going to throw something left field at you. And I was like, I want something that's going to catch the audience by surprise. Like, you know, nutritional doctor here, like PhD in nutritional science or whatever the actual term is. But we're going to talk about like tips for a new dad. And I think when I threw that at you, you were like, mate, that's even left field for me. I didn't see that one coming.
I was not expecting that whatsoever, but I do think it is really, I think sometimes as coaches, people sort of not put us on pedestals, but they think that that's your job, so it's going to be easy for you. Or, you know, you're a nutritionist, so of course that's going to be easy for you. But we're just regular people. And, you know, I think given our experiences, our scheduling, our productivity, you know, we're just normal people. We've got the same 24 hours in a day. And, you know, if we can give people some sort of insight into that, they may pick up things and see that, you know, it can be done.
Yep, 100%. And also some practical advice, right? Because dads out there, if you're listening, like you will be panicking about doing the nappies if you're a new dad. You're going to wonder any tips and strategies. So, mate, we're not just going to go on the schedule, and we're going to talk about the dirty stuff too, like the nappies. This is going to be the dirtiest podcast we've done.
Yeah.
So, mate, let's give the people a bit of a background, because obviously people will know me, right? So I'm an online coach. I do a tiny bit of PT at Doherty's Perth, and I also mentor PTs on how to scale their business. But that's like a sort of side project, side bit of love. You've also got a couple of things going on with you and your professional life. So let's talk about what you've got going on in terms of job roles and your coaching side as well.
Yeah. Okay. So my main 9 to 5, as I call it, but it's not really 9 to 5, is I'm a university lecturer. So over the last maybe 4 or 5 years, I was a biochemical scientist working on my PhD research. And that then progressed into a full contract in the university, where I teach a number of different subjects, which people are probably aware of if they've heard the previous podcast. So I teach exercise and performance nutrition, clinical physiology, anatomy and physiology, and all that good stuff. So that's my sort of 9 to 5 and everything that goes with the academic life, you know, managing students, dissertation projects. We've got a bunch of master students now over the summer that we're looking after. because most of our undergrads here in the UK are finishing up, which is really, really good. It's a busy time this semester, but it means now for the next couple of months, I can get caught up on research or publications or grant applications or that type of thing, and then preparing for the next academic semester in September. So that's sort of the main 9 to 5 as I describe it. But as you said, I also have a coaching business myself where I used to coach mainly just Gen Pop. And, you know, over the years, you sort of think that, well, everyone wants that six pack, that men's health physique. And I think the more you get into it, you just realize that, you know, a woman just wants to go into change rooms and actually feel good about themselves. You know, a guy wants to, you know, maybe catch himself in the mirror and be like, flip, is that a wee ab there? Is that a wee bit of definition? You know, no one really wants this veins over the stomach type thing unless they are highly specific, you know?
Yeah.
So that was the early days, and I still have a lot of Gen Pop clients, but most of them now probably just from the direction that my academic career is taken, that people are now coming to me for performance nutrition, which is what I done my master's in anyway. So working with a lot of athletes, I had a guy making weight in MMA this week who won his fight. I work with CrossFitters, I work with footballers, international footballers, rugby players, Commonwealth level boxers, the whole works. And then I do a bit like yourself, some mentorship in terms of educating coaches on basically the dietary side of things. So you get a lot of strength and conditioning coaches who obviously maybe run a facility. They want to try and give a little bit more knowledge to their clientele, but they don't understand the nutrition side of it. So they come to me and they say, Josh, can you give me a bit of guidance on how we manage Gen Pop? And so we take them through a bit of a mentorship there. So that's probably the coaching side of things. And we sort of spoke briefly beforehand, but you know, both of them I equally love. I equally love my academic career. That's what I sort of built the last 10 years on, doing my undergraduate, my master's, my PhD, and then coaching was always to help people. You know, it was never meant to be a full-time career, but it's just got to the stage where it pretty much is a full-time job now. But it always comes back to just my goal is to get rid of you as a client at the end of the day, because then I want to be able to help as many people as possible. And to do that, that means that I need to impart my knowledge to those people so that they can be empowered to make decisions and have autonomy around food choice in order to meet their goals, no matter what part of their life. So yeah, that sort of gives you a background into pretty much what I do in the day-to-day now and how busy that is, while also fitting in just life, you know, family, a relationship, friends, catching up with a buddy on the other side of the world. You know, all that has to try and fit in around sort of 2 full-time jobs almost.
Yep. And that gives everyone a really good idea of how busy you are in general life. You know, you've got your job, you've got the coaching, these athletes who are very specific, very potentially a very needy group. And then you've got to fit, you know, your 10-week-old son around that and also support your wife and, you know, everything else it's, you know, around the house and everything that needs done. So very busy, just like me, obviously. Different stages. Obviously, I'm going to be daddy number 2 now in 2.5 weeks at the time we're recording. At the time of this coming out, the baby should have came, because this is going to come out on the 2nd of July, which I think is a Friday. So baby should have been here by now, unless it decides to hold on for an extra week. But fingers crossed it doesn't go that long. So this will be coming out around the time that I've became a dad again, and it's going to be the whole challenge again, which is why I was like, right, let's just go on and talk about how we cope with it the first time, how we cope with, you know, I'll give my experience of Evie at the 2-year-old mark now and preparing for the second one. And obviously you've got the experience of the 9 to 5 sort of employed role, whereas I would only be given my point of view as, you know, a self-employed business. Yeah. So I think we've got a lot of experience here. We're going to have some fun with it as well. So let's get down to the nitty gritty, man, right? So Arlo came along 10 weeks ago. Did you cry whenever baby came along?
I didn't actually cry. No, I didn't. I think I was just in shock of the whole thing. Just
shock's a big factor.
We were sort of just talking like, and you know, you grow up, and I'm obviously from a biological background, or biological sciences, and you know what in your head, you know what's happening. Like, you know this is growing over 9 months. You know that it's going to come out, but it just doesn't prepare you for actually being there and seeing, like, flip, that baby just came out of there. Like, that's that is mind blowing. And so, like, you're just so focused on making sure, is the baby okay? Is Elaine okay? What's going on around? And you've got all these doctors and nurses doing a fantastic job, and you're making sure that we're okay. And it's just mind blowing, you know. But yeah, even Elaine would say I wouldn't be the biggest crier. Like, even probably we've been out in 8 years, and I don't think I've cried once. But the other day, I'll have to say though that it was the first time that Arlo was really screaming. He's not a crier, but it was the first time I saw a tear in his eye, and it just came down his cheek, and I was like, "Oh, that is breaking my heart."
Yeah.
I was like, "Let him know," because they're so defenseless, obviously, at that age, and you're just like, "You are killing me here," you know?
Yeah, 100%. There'll be plenty of those moments as well along the way, bro. Plenty
but
of
no,
those.
I didn't cry at the birth, but that moment there was the closest probably in a very long time.
Yeah, man. Well, you got one over on me because, like, I'm not a crier normally. I think, like, I'm very much bottle it up, get on with it sort of mentality. Like, I almost cried it when I got married to Esther, and you were there at my wedding, and like, I literally, this is how I fucked up in my whole need to bottle it up thing is, right? I'll give a bit of background. Like, I was gonna cry when I seen her walk down the aisle, and then I caught somebody's eye. My eyes glanced to somebody else, like in the audience, and for some reason, whenever I looked at that other person, I was like, I must have been in my head, like, don't cry, man up. You can't cry. Like, it's your wedding day. People are here. Like, it took me out of that moment of, like, literally just about to cry. And then, like, just literally the littlest glance, and it wasn't that the person was judging me or anything, but I just instantly just went into this, not crying sort of thing. Right. And I'm the type, like, previously, I'm not just going to talk about all the times I've cried now, but, like, just to give a bit of background, like, whenever a family member dies, like, I'm the type who at the funeral, I'm the strong type. I'll always do some sort of a reading, and I'll hold myself together for everyone else. Whether it's like when my granddad died, I held myself together for my nanny who was still alive. When my nanny died, I held myself together for my dad, because his dad's mom who died. So I was like being strong for somebody else. And the first time I ever cried when somebody passed away that I can remember is last year during COVID, and my nanny died, and I got to the end. I was watching on the webcam, obviously being over here, and once everyone moved out of view and I couldn't see the coffin anymore, I just started bawling. So it does take a lot, and that's something that whenever Evie came along, like, man, it was fucking special. Like, I said to the midwife, I was like, listen, I'm going to be involved. Obviously, you're going to deliver the baby, but whenever the baby's ready to come out, I want to, like, grab the baby and pass it up to Esther, and I actually tell her what the gender is, because we didn't know 100%. So for me, that was a huge moment. And Esther's mum was over. This was in 2019 before COVID, and she was in the room with us, and she took some pictures, man. And if you look back on my Instagram until about 2019, I was a wreck, man. I was, like, completely bawling, sniveling. Like, it was 100% like that moment. So if you're going to be a new dad listening to this, like, it's okay to cry. It's okay not to cry as well. Like, you might just be overwhelmed with it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, whatever your experience is, just go with it. If you feel the tears coming on, just go with it. If you feel like you're in shock, that's fine as well, right? Like, it's awesome, mate. But let's change pace a little bit. Like, obviously nappies are a big thing. We said we're going to talk about these, so I want to get them out of the way early. How long did it take you to do your first nappy?
Pretty much as soon as we got home. I think it's hard to know, because at that time you don't have much sleep in the day, sort of blend in. But Elaine was in hospital, and just because of COVID restrictions, I was allowed to stay for a wee bit, but then had to go home that night by myself, and then wait around. Now we were out the very next. I'm pretty sure we were out the very next day. I think we only done one night in hospital. So went in early morning, about 10 o'clock. Baby came about 12. I stayed around for a couple of hours. Had to go home, then come back the next day. So because of that, I couldn't do the obviously the first nappy, like. But it was very, very shortly after that when we were home, and like, I mean, you just have to do it, and like, just man up, and like, your wife's carried a baby for 9 months, like, and just delivered it. The least you can do is get stuck into some dirty nappies, you know.
Yep, 100%, man.
But yeah, we just, like, he's doing a bit of a routine at the minute where he seems to do all his wet nappies with me, so I'm happy to change them. I like change like 3 in a row that are real, just wet ones, and then the moment I'm like, right, I got to do some work here, Elaine, can you take over? Just poo everywhere.
You've trained him well, then. You've trained him well. You know, he knows your schedule.
But yeah, he's just get stuck in. It's some of them are horrendous. Like, some of them have been really bad. Where it's just everywhere, up his back, the whole works. And you're just like, how can so much stuff come out of such a wee thing?
But have you had any projectile poos that like literally fly onto the floor, or like baby's going while you're?
Well, that has happened. It hasn't been quite projectile, but like, you get them all cleaned up, and you're like, right, new nappy on, and then you're like, are you serious? Come on, play the game. Yeah.
So I remember once Esther sent me a picture, and she's like, I've literally, like, Evie just completely went off the changing table, like projectiled off all over her, all over the floor. It was just like, what? So yeah, guys, you've got that ahead of you for half projectile poos, including you, Josh.
It's because even at that stage, they're so flexible, and so you're trying to clean a nappy, and then they put their foot in it, and you're like, come on, now it's going everywhere.
100%. Yeah, it gets messy, but that's the advice I was going to give, is that, you know, a lot of people hold off for fear, like, oh, I can't do the nappies, I can't. But trust me, like, it's best to do it at the first when they're really messy, because they're just like pretty liquidy, so it's pretty disgusting and messy. But soon they will start to smell, and I don't know if you're at the stage yet where Arlo's starts to stink a little bit. But if you get to maybe 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it is down the line, and they start to smell and they start to become a little bit more solid, that's whenever it's more likely that you're going to gag. Whereas, like, you see all these people, these videos on, you know, YouTube or TikTok or Reels or whatever, and it's people's reactions whenever they're changing a nappy, and they're actually gagging, and that's probably because they've left it so long to do a nappy that it started to really smell. Whereas if we get stuck in straight away and get it done early, you're pretty efficient. You pretty much know the whole routine. You can get it done a lot faster by the time they start to smell. So the smell doesn't affect you because you're not there as long. Whereas if you're just learning to do a nappy and it starts to smell, you're in trouble, right?
It is. It just gets stuck in, and I mean, you just, the first couple of times, be like, you know, is this tight enough? Is it too tight? Is it too loose? But the more you do, the more you learn. Just like any sort of skill in life, you know, and it's new to you. So I think one of the biggest things that I took away from it, and I have continued to take away, is that it doesn't matter who you speak to. Just, you can speak to one midwife, you can speak to another midwife. They'll tell you two different things. It's like, we're all just winging it here. But no one's really, you know, done too much harm to a child, thankfully. And, you know, you'll just learn to know what works with your child, and you'll have a gut feeling. But yeah, get stuck into the nasty stuff. Like, it's going to happen, and there's going to be plenty more of it, and you can't avoid it. So the quicker you get stuck in, the quicker you get over that initial fear of it.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. And then let's go into sort of 10 weeks in, what's been the biggest challenge now with a newborn?
It is the work. Just the balancing of everything. I mean, as I said, we've been very, very lucky, where he's just like his dad. He just cries when he's hungry, and when he hasn't got a bit of sleep, he gets overtired, and that's him getting a bit antsy. But other than that, like, he's an absolute dream. Like, we've been very, very lucky in that regard, where, you know, he'll sleep a lot of time, and when he's not sleeping, he'll be up giggling and wanting to have the crack and, you know, chat away. and then you get him a bottle and he's back down to sleep for a good bit. So I mean, we've been very, very lucky where he hasn't had a lot of those common symptoms like colic or reflux or anything like that. Had a wee bit of reflux at the start, but luckily we've got it sorted. But I was, Elaine would tell you that I'm married to her, but I'm also married to my work.
Yeah.
So coming into this, I already had a very, very busy schedule, and throwing a kid into the mix, obviously, it's so much more demanding now. And so it's like, how do you balance your time between all the commitments you have in your full-time paid contract of the university? How do you then manage that around clients who are obviously paying privately for a certain standard? And then how do you divide that between, also having a relationship, with your wife, bonding with your new son, and then keeping things like the house and stuff going and everything that goes along with that, and getting out for groceries and stuff like that, just the basic household stuff. So it was basically like, how do you manage all that workload while still trying to give people the same amount of you as you have been giving them?
Yeah.
So that's probably been the biggest challenge so far.
Yeah. And I think it's like, it really forces you to level up. And we spoke about this before, like whenever you have a newborn come along, it kind of changes you. And we're very similar in our drive and our passion. And we're very, I would say probably very emotional, but very strong at the same time, like with our personalities. So, like whenever Evie came along, that was whenever I'd literally just left an employed role I was in 2 months before. It was pretty much a mutual termination where I'm not employable. I'll be the one to admit that it wasn't a good fit for me. And then that as a result meant that I wasn't a good fit for the company either. Right. And I suddenly had to level up and become this businessman. And that's when I hired my first business coach, and I just kind of became a different animal. And kind of everything that I've built in Perth has been since then, because I was kind of dabbling a little bit and fucking around with training before I took that employed role. Obviously thought the employed role would have been great when it was for a time, but then it didn't work out and I had to go all in on this. And it's kind of like, you kind of just like, you motor and you find a next gear for your work. And like, you have to work smarter, but you also have to work pretty fucking hard as well. You got to make sure your clients are happy, make sure you're doing everything marketing wise. Obviously it's slightly different for you because you've got you're fully booked for your coaching is like your little baby on the side where you've already got a full-time job. So you don't really have to market as much as what, for example, I would have to do being an entrepreneur and like sole trader or whatever. So it does make you find that extra gear. And like we said at the start, you do have to work a lot harder but also a lot smarter. So what do you think is the tactics that you've put in place to then work smarter and still have time where you can still manage your uni work, your coaching work, and still have family time, man? Because I'm sure you're balancing everything pretty damn well.
It's hard to know sometimes. But, yeah, just on that, we sort of spoke about this beforehand, but just a couple of other thoughts came to my head there, and while you're saying that, and one of the things was that it probably doesn't, it's not like it's not a thing that like you're speaking down to people or telling people what they want, but I think there's a large part, certainly for me anyway, there's a large part where I think that you can't truly grow up or mature unless you have to care for someone else. In other words, a baby or something, or if you have like a caring role for maybe a parent or family member or something, because for all your life, you're your own responsibility. You go out and you do your own thing for you. But then now you've been thrust into the world with this baby, and it's like you used to put yourself second to that for everything pretty much for the rest of your life. And it's like, right now I have to get my shit done here. Like I have to level up, as you say. And one of the big things that I noticed was that I've always been very, very busy, and I've always been very reflective of my work, and how I spend my time, but that doesn't stop me from procrastinating like everyone else. And so I think since the past 10 weeks, I've been like, right, how can I be super productive here? Because you've no other choice. And even though I still have like the stability of a full-time job, it's still like, you still have clients relying on you. You still have a family relying on you. You still have other family members, you know, outside of my immediate wife and son that you want to spend time with. And it's like, those people are still all relying on you. So you have to try and fit those in. And I would say that a lot of the things that I do have probably been formed prior to having a son, but they've just been refined more since then. So one of the things I always do every Sunday, I usually write down a list of everything I need to do this week and just have it in my diary. And very, very simply go through and really just rank them 1 to 3 in terms of priorities. All the ones need done ASAP, like immediately. All the 2s, they can be done this week and they probably should be done this week, but they're only second priority to the 1s. And then the 3s are like, be nice to get that done, but there's no immediate rush on it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I sort of set up my week. So you just go through and you tick off the list of all the ones you need to do. And it's got to the stage now where I pretty much put most things into the diary, which isn't great for sometimes social occasions or flexibility of just your schedule. But it means that I have everything nailed down where I know how much time I'm spending working. And it means that I don't just have 9 hours to kill today to get check-ins done. It's like, no, you have 3 hours because you've maybe got your son in the morning, but then you have a call in the afternoon. You only have a set window. So stop messing about and get the head done and get it done. And then, of course, you can break into different techniques that make you productive during those sessions. But it's the diary for me is a big one. And Elaine always gives off, but she's always like saying like, you're so old school, you're so old, because I keep like a good hard diary instead of keeping my phone. But there's something about having that physical thing there being like, right, that needs done, and I'm going to get good satisfaction ticking that off.
100%.
Yeah, and it's just like, it just keeps me centered and keeps me focused that this is what needs done during the week. But probably just on that, like, you know, I can be as productive as I want, but like, you know, if I didn't have, you know, a really supportive wife like Elaine, like, you know, I wouldn't be able to do half of this stuff. And I think that's the thing when you're in a good relationship, is you have, you know, it's a team. So it is. It's not about trying to get one up on the other person or trying to see how much that you can get done or they can get done or stuff like that. It's not a competition. It's a partnership and it's a team. So you support each other in whatever way you can. And, you know, I'm very, very lucky that Elaine, from day one that we met, supported me through master's, PhD. Now, when I wanted to push on with coaching, has always been there and been the one that been like, go and do it and we'll make it work. And I think that's really, really important. Just people who are single parents, I just don't know how they do it, you know, because I'd be lost without having Elaine there, just, you know, being that rock at times when like you've got so much on and she's like, don't worry about it, just you go and do you and we'll be fine here. So that's been a massive help, you know. And I think there comes a stage where, you know, you just need to get it done. You know, there's work there, there's clients expecting stuff. And even when I think about that, I'm probably going off on a tangent, but I'm just sort of giving you my thoughts.
Go for it.
I think a lot of time when people end up saying, you know, how do I be more productive? They probably spend more time trying to be more productive than actually being more productive. And I think, you know, like they read all these help books about productivity and these different techniques, and it's like, there comes a stage where you just need to get it done. And I think there's a lot of people out there who they're trying to be productive, but they're trying to be productive in an area that they just don't enjoy. Like, I don't need to be productive to work with clients. I don't need to be productive to go in and lecture because, and this is, you know, some people have a gripe with this, but I genuinely love what I do, and I'm not one of these people who's like, yeah, it's Friday. I have that Friday feeling and that Sunday night blues. It's like, no, when I have to take a day off, or if I go on holidays for a week and I don't open the laptop, I'm like, right, when can I get back working?
Yeah.
And like people think people sometimes are like, you're a workaholic, but it's like, I'd rather that than spend 40, 50 hours a week for the rest of my life going into a job that I hate and living for the weekend and trying to increase your productivity. And I think people don't realize that pick something you enjoy, because like if you enjoy something, you're going to be productive because you want to do it. It doesn't feel like a job. And some people think, oh, well, it's not going to make me money. And like, I think that's just it's almost like a front. People made money getting those. Do you ever come across those pet rocks? Used to be around years ago.
No.
You should check them up. Like, it's called My Pet Rock, and basically people got a bunch of stones and put the 2 googly eyes on it and sold them. Made a fortune. You're like, you can make money anywhere. So the money thing shouldn't be holding you back, but go and do something you enjoy, and at least that way it's so cliche, because my nanny used to say to me all the time, like, if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I was like, that can't be true. But I mean, like, I'm happy to work 60, 70 hours a week, doing what I love, because it doesn't feel like work. And it's, so it's hard not to be productive when you love that. And I'm sure you're the same, that, you're still being productive. You're still maybe doing things like Pomodoro technique, or you're blocking time, or you're prioritizing certain things. But at the end of the day, like, if you love what you do, you're like, those are just there to support you in what you actually do and need to get done. But you're happy to go and do it, as opposed to going to like a corporate job where you're just trying to make ends meet for the sake of it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that a lot of people also may have like time leaks. Like, they've got things that they're doing that they're not really doing that well. Like, for example, like this week I've just set myself a challenge. I've tried to do it before, but really fucked it. Like, I used to set an hour limit on my Instagram activity, where it literally says you've hit your hour, and then it's like close app, extend time, or basically ignore timer, where you can then say, no, I want to use it for more than an hour. But you've actually got to then hit that button. I think it allows you can go close app, allow 2 more minutes. So it's like, I'm just finishing something, give me 2 more minutes before I shut it off. Or it's ignore the whole thing and turn it off. And I used to always do it, and I used to always get to about 10 o'clock in the day, and I'd hit that hour, and I'd just be like, turn it off. The past 2 days, it's got to this time of night. I think I've been on for about 45 minutes today. And like, that was a big time leak for me. That was I'd done it on May. It was 2.5 hours a day and 5.5 hours of screen time. Yesterday, it was 2.5 hours of screen time, and only, like, by the time I checked, it was 35 minutes on Instagram. And I like, when I'm sitting there, I'm like, right, I need to get off here soon, because I must be near an hour. Like, I don't want to waste if I need to do 5 minutes later on to reply to people or do whatever needs done. And I check it, and I'm on like 35, 40 minutes. And I'm like, whoa, I've got loads of time left on Instagram. Like, but I was just killing time. I was watching people's stories and consuming content that I didn't need to do. Now I'm just focused. I'll go in and clear stuff. Or what I'll do is, if I'm worried that I'm going to be close to the time and I need to reply, I know there's going to be messages on there I need to reply to, I'll go on the laptop, because when I go on there, I'm not going to sit on the big Mac screen here and watch people's stories in fucking HD. Like, I don't want to, it's just not the same experience. So I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to log in, and I'm going to go straight to my notifications on my inbox, and I'm going to clear those bad boys, and then I'm going to log out again, because it's just better for me that way. So that's one thing that, go for it.
It's sort of similar to that, not so much of screen time, but one of the things that I really done during my PhD, because what does everyone do when they're trying to get work done? They're sitting there with their laptop or whatever it is, but they've got their phone to the side. What happens as soon as it buzzes, it vibrates, it lights up? You're just breaking contact from your work, breaking attention. And so I turned off all notifications on my phone. The only thing that I have up now is a text message and a phone call. So unless I get one of those two, and like, how many people text you these days, or very, very rare to use some other platform, and how many people phone you these days? So usually, if someone texts me or phones me, I know that this is serious. So I've turned off all notifications. And it's been a game changer because like, I've done that years ago because when I was doing large blocks of writing for my PhD thesis, it was like, no, I need to be focused here and switched on. I don't want to be breaking my attention every 2 or 3 minutes when a message or notification comes through. And that changed things massively for me. And it just stops at, okay, well, oh, there's a Facebook notification, there's Instagram. Let's look at it. Oh, and then I'm caught in that scrolling trap.
Yeah.
And I think what you realize is you don't miss out on anything. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
you think you do, and you're constantly searching for that one post that's gonna, I don't know, gonna give you that maybe dopamine response, but it just doesn't come. You just end up scrolling mindlessly, and then you realize, well, there wasn't much on there that I got from it, but I've wasted 2 hours.
Yeah, 100%, man. And a big thing for me, obviously, like a lot of people contact me on Instagram who are potential clients, right? So like
Yeah.
conversation might be going really well and people might be really interested, and then you keep checking your phone every 2 minutes in case, oh, what if they message me saying like they want to book a call or whatever, and I was just wasting time where I'd log in, I'd be like, oh, what if Josh has replied about coaching and he's ready to go, and I can send him the invoice and we can get him started and start helping him right away. And like I'm just checking my phone constantly, whereas like I'm waiting for that message thing through that might take another 8 hours to come through, and I'm still checking it flat out, and then I'm getting impatient, and I'm not being productive with all my other shit. And mate, I'm like you as well. I meant to say this earlier. I've just started to like properly diarize everything. Like where I'll not do it for the week. I'll do it the night before. So like I've already written out everything I've got to do tomorrow in terms of client calls, mentor meetings, even down to when I'm having breakfast with Esther and Evie, and Evie's drop off at daycare, Evie's bedtime, which is now in my diary. But what I do is I use a bit of both. I use my normal Apple calendar on my iPhone is where I've got all my calendars from Google and Apple all through. I've got one link to my work email, which is a Gmail one. And then I'll write it out. I'll be like, right, cool. I've got a call with a mentor at 5 a.m. I've got some other business work I need to do. And then I'll have a breakfast break and I'll just plan out my day like that. And I've also now, which I think is a good tip for anyone out there, whether you're a mom or dad, or you're just listening to this to hear us talk shit about babies' experiences, and you're still in for the ride here and you're just listening to this. I've now, like, because Esther doesn't use Google Calendar, right? She uses her Apple one, and which I use most of the time too, but I've got all my appointments synced into Google Calendar, and she's downloaded the app just so she can see my work calendar. So she can look and be like, oh, if she's upstairs at 6 a.m. and Evie's crying and she needs to come down and do the milk, then she can look at that and be like, oh, he's on a mentor call now, so he's not going to be able to do it. Or why did he not pick up his phone if I'm at the gym? And she's like, oh, he's with a client now rather than being on his coffee break, which he was 10 minutes ago whenever he texts me. So she can then look at that and understand where I am in the day and be like, right, cool. That's the reason why he's not picking up, or that's where he is now, or whatever. So she can get an idea of my day and how it's structured, and she can be like, all right, cool. Like, when am I going to slot in with that? So that's potentially a good tip for somebody who's in a relationship who, like us, we're busy people. We run our own companies. You've got the full-time job as well, mate. So you've got to sort of plan this shit a bit. And if you give your partner some insight, whether it's a written diary that she can come in and check my diary for the day and it's written down here on paper, or it's a live thing that she can see if I've moved any appointments since then or canceled anything, potentially is something that might be a benefit as well, man. What about priorities as a dad? Like, what have you found, like, is it hard, like, shifting your priorities? Because obviously, like, I think, and females, if you're listening, like, this isn't meant in any, hopefully this doesn't come across in any negative way, but females find it very easy to, Josh is laughing here because like he's like, what the fuck's he gonna say? But
I think I know where you're going, but
females find it very easy to like jump into the mother role, right? And it's like it all becomes about the baby very, very easily. Whereas, like, one thing I struggle with was, like, I had to go out and be the breadwinner. Like, over here, like, Esther doesn't work. We don't get any government help, but I think you've got to be a resident for 2 years. So even though we've now got our residency here, even with the new baby, we don't get any government assistance, even though we're on a single income. So, like, for me and for a lot of people, like, dads have to go out and do the job, whether you're a brickie on a site, whether you run your own company, whether you're a fucking like the CEO of a bank or whatever the fuck the top dog
Yeah.
is there. Like, you've still got to go out and earn the money, right? And yes, some jobs pay different, but you've still got that in your head. That's your sort of role. So have you struggled with that? Like having like, because for me, what I'm trying to get at is you have this week off. I had a week off where baby time, downtime. Obviously, all my clients understood. I pushed them online for the week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then after a week, you're back in it. You're driving into work at 5 a.m. and it's like, right, fuck, I've got to go and do this now. And that's your role. But did you struggle with that role, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask, with switching from that week of daddy mode to then being, right, no, fuck, I've got to be like breadwinner sort of mode?
I don't think so. I think it's mainly because I'll be a very, very black and white person. As general, very, very personality-wise, be very black and white, and I see things as black and white, and there's very little gray area when it comes to my thoughts around certain things. And that obviously that doesn't sound great coming from like a science background, but in terms of like decision making and stuff, if I come decision making, it's black and white. So like going into like the father role, it obviously was a bit of it was overwhelming to start as a bit of a whirlwind, but it was more like, right, you have this here, you have this new child, this wee human who's so defenseless, you have to look after that. And it's like, right, I want to do the best I can for him. And so it was all about, right, how do I prioritize that? And I sort of had 2 weeks off for paternity leave. So it was like, right, what can I do to support him? But what can I do to support Elaine? How can I help her recovery? Going through the 4th trimester, as they call it, and how can I make life a bit easier? But at the same time, you're like, right, well, I'm also a lecturer, and you're not just a lecturer these days. With students, there's a lot going on, and it's a lot of pastoral care. So it's like, well, how do you be that educator, but how do you also be that person that you can support students and listen to students and be compassionate about their issues, especially over the past year, and how can you help them through that? But then, right, be there for my clients also, and understand that their frustrations. And I think you sort of touched on it, that we're both quite driven people, but we're also underneath quite emotional. And I think that's where a lot of wiseness is easy, because underneath I'd be very, very compassionate and empathetic towards everyone, and I like to try and understand where someone's coming from. But at the same time, when it comes to the actual decision making, it's black or white. It's like, right, you need support, right, what can I do? Okay, you need extra guidance on your diet or your training. Okay, let's go and let's just address whatever's in front of us. So actually, that detachment is quite easy for me, for whatever reason. Maybe it's just the way I was brought up or whatever, but just that emotional attachment or detachment from certain roles can be quite easy. So when I leave, like literally if I leave a room, it's like, right, what am I on to next? And it's like, sometimes at night going to bed, we'll be doing feeds and stuff during the night, and for a large part of it, we were both up. Because again, I didn't want to be like, oh, I don't want Elaine to suffer all this. I'll do what I can. So one of us might feed him, one of us might change him, and that type of thing. But then when it's time to go to bed, I can switch off just like that. I'm like, okay, he seems to be happy, no real wind, he's grand. I'm straight out. Where Elaine would say, like, she would sometimes watch him and be like, is he okay? He's maybe turning a wee bit. So again, I don't really have an answer for where that came from, but that detachment and going to a new role can be quite easy for me for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's fair, man. I think as guys we kind of have to do that, right? But some people may struggle more than others, and like I kind of launched myself back into that role, like you said, with pretty much ease, because it's like you said, there's no gray area. It's like, I had to go and earn money. Like if clients start to leave or I'm not in, at that time I was doing PT like 20, 30 sessions a week. That's a considerable chunk of money that if I just decide, oh no, I'm going to take another week off or I need to spend more time, like that means we don't survive as a family, like in terms of earning the money. So I think that's something that I just wanted to bring up because it's something that guys might struggle with, and it's okay to, want to go back to work to provide. And it's also cool on the flip side if you decide that, I'd love some more time off. Like I was talking to a client today, and he's due a baby October time, and he was like, "I'm thinking of taking 2 weeks off. Is that too long or what?" And I was like, "Mate, take however long you feel you need off. Like that's what you need." He's in the lucky position. He's a self-employed business owner too, and he's a PT. He can take time off. But he's obviously thinking 2 weeks would be ideal. But for me, it was like after a week, I was like, I need to go back and start earning some money. And just everyone will go through that, mate. But yeah, I'm conscious of time. So I did write down one final question. This is going to be the big question. And I'm not going to clip this up. And sometimes I put up little funny clips. I'm not going to do you with this one, but I need you to answer it on the podcast. So did you try the breast milk?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh,
I didn't.
what?
I didn't. Yeah. Got to be getting in early for those colostrum games, but
Yeah.
no, I didn't. Did I?
I mean, I'm just gonna have to go and ask Elaine on Instagram now, right?
Yeah, like I probably, when you just put it on to test the temperature of it, I probably just licked it off, but I didn't constantly be like, well, give me a taste of that. But I can't actually remember actually doing it. Not from a reason that I didn't want to. I don't think I consciously tried it, but I could have licked it off at some stage.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not against it or anything. But yeah, Elaine took a chunk of it, so she did, and yeah, said it was fine. Like,
It's not that big a deal really once I think like with me it was like there was a little bit left that Evie didn't have in a bottle, and Esther was just like, oh, go on, try it. And I was like, oh no, what do you mean? And then obviously your mom and dad were over and living with us and helping us in those first couple of months before COVID, obviously. And they were there too, and then I was like, oh, will I do it? Well, I'm not. Just like, oh, just man up and do it. And it's not even that bad. Like, and I think everyone will have that sort of partner, maybe goad them into trying it, or maybe they'll be tempted to try it themselves, whatever. I see it sometimes on Instagram, and I just think it's funny how some guys will just be literally down the hatch and like no issue, and they'll film it for Instagram and everything, and other people are very funny about it. So that's $1 million question. I've tried it, Josh hasn't. So if any new dads are listening, I want to know, have you tried it? Like, screenshot now and tag me at Ora McCarry and tag at Dr. Josh Williamson and let us know, did you try the breast milk? If you're still listening to this and you've got this far, that's going to be the $1 million question, I think.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think.
So funny.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, it's so funny because you might think before you're a parent that's disgusting, but see when you're a parent, and like I had an incident within probably the first 2 weeks where I took him down in the morning. And he was sitting on me, and I was like, what's going on here? It feels very warm. I looked down, and he had pissed and shit everywhere, and it was all over me. And I was like, thanks, mate. Like, really appreciate it. And you're just like, if that was anyone else, like if anyone else pissed in your bed or, shit on you, you'd be like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But see, once you're a kid, you're just like, cheers, mate. Thanks for that. Right, that's going to get cleaned. You don't see anything disgusting anymore. Yeah,
get him cleaned and then get you cleaned and then straight back at it. You might do it in another hour, right?
Exactly.
That's it, man. That's it. Like, just be prepared, guys. I guess that's what we said. Like, we haven't given any world-beating sort of tips here. Like, we're just two normal dads who just get on with it and just have been sort of at different stages, I guess. And it will cause you to level up, whether it's in, if you do a 9 to 5 in terms of balancing that and still getting home in time to do your jobs or helping out in the morning. Whether you run your own business, you'll have to level up. Whether you're the sole breadwinner, like I said, you'll have to level up. You'll have to get involved in the nappies and just expect you're going to have to drink some breast milk. I think that's pretty much a good summary of what we talked about, huh? Is there anything else, mate, that you feel like we haven't covered, or anything that you maybe want to add for the last couple of minutes?
No, I think I think it is just a big lifestyle change. But again, it's not one of those cliche things that you'll just be amazed if you're expecting a kid, or if you've had one. you just look at them in awe and be like, flip that this is actually here. And I think sometimes people think, oh, well, I'm going to miss the newborn stage, whatever. But I think you're probably better to give advice on this than I am. But I sort of think that at every stage of their development, right from newborn, right up even probably to their teens, there's always going to be something with them that amazes you, that they're doing something or they're picking something up, or like maybe 10 years time, Evie's doing some training or something, or wanting to know about diet or nutrition. And, I think there's going to be something. It is a lifestyle change, but it's just an amazing journey that I'm only 10 weeks into, and you look forward to how much more I can see and support and let him have the best life that he can have,
100%, man. And there will be, like, it's still early days for you, obviously, but I remember Esther didn't want Evie to get any bigger from like the newborn stage, and then suddenly they grow a bit bigger and they start doing different things and like maybe laughing and different things which you weren't doing in the first few weeks. And then it's like, oh, this is really cute now. And then the next stage seems the cutest. And Evie's now at the stage where she's stringing together like 6 words into a little mini sentence. And a lot of the times I can't understand her. Esther has to be like, oh, she said this, or I'll say it to Esther, or there's just some stuff where I'm just like, what? And I'm just like, I don't understand you, darling. Like, just go and play with your stickers. But every stage has these different wonderful things, man, and it's all going to be ahead of you. So it's awesome. And if you got any questions, let me know. But man, like you said, it is something special. I think this has just been a bit of a fun. I just wanted something like a change of pace on an episode here, and something we could just have the crack. We've literally just turned on record after like 10 minutes of catching up, and we just talked about fatherhood and just stuff we would probably have talked about anyway on like a Zoom together just to catch up. And it's a type of thing that I think people can get bogged down with or worried about. And I think once you realize that it's this amazing gift and you will be able to take it all in your stride, you're going to be in a really good spot because you've got all the tools already. Like, I can't imagine not being a dad now, like 2 years down the line. And soon, like, while at the minute, I'm kind of like a little bit anxious about having 2 and balancing work. Within a couple of weeks, it's just going to be like, oh, how did we ever just have 1 kid? Like, this is just normal now. And that's what will happen. Yeah, 100%, man. So, like, don't panic, guys. It's all ahead of you, and it's all going to be a massive journey. So, Josh, thank you for your time tonight, mate. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome catching up. And like you say, I don't think if we share this link out on your thing, I don't think your listeners will expect this from you delivering this type of podcast, and people probably don't expect me to talk about it. But mate, sometimes these are the podcasts that I'll get a message from, 6 months from now. I recorded one about lessons from fatherhood that I actually forgot I even recorded. And somebody messaged me being like, mate, I really loved that episode on that. I've got a girl or a boy or whatever. And, it's so good. So these are the ones that probably people will go back through and be like, oh, wait, that applies to me now. So even if it doesn't get heaps of listens right now, it will over time, because this is the type of thing that people will always come back to and always need. So, it's going to be a big value one. So while the nutrition myths, if anyone hasn't checked that out, it was top 5 for like 6 months. This one might be a slow grower, but we'll definitely get it up there with the listens before long, man. So thank you for your time, buddy. Shout out your Instagram again. How can people get in touch if they want to follow you?
Yeah, people want to get in touch. Instagram's Dr. Josh Williamson. Feel free to send me a DM. We're happy to chat with people, and that's where I do most of my content. So you should be able to pick up on a lot of different posts or announcements that I have. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up, buddy, and I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, buddy. No doubt we'll get a third episode. This is number 2 in the bag. We'll get a third one on before long and give somebody some more nutrition bombs or some more myths busted than what we did last time.
Yeah, big time. Look forward to
100%, man. Well, you have a great rest of your day, and I'll speak to you soon.
You too, buddy. Speak soon.
Thanks for joining me on today's episode of The O Show. If you know somebody who needs to hear this episode today, please share this with them via message or on social media. Don't forget to also take a screenshot and share it on your story and tag me at Oren McCorry so we can continue to grow the podcast and help more people change their lives with the advice given here. Also, keep the 5-star reviews coming over on iTunes, as that helps people who normally wouldn't listen to the show find it and get the O Show in their ears and drive the podcast forward to help more people around the world with the advice here. Have a great day, and I will speak to you soon.